Okay, these are a series of videos that I'm making for my Shir Eula on Bava. We're going to start at the beginning on Perak Beis Amud Aleph of Arba Avos. This is Bava Beis Amud Aleph, starting with the Mishna. Arba Avos Nezikin. Right, there are four main categories, okay, primary categories of damages when it comes to Nezikin. Okay, the shore, the boar, Mava, Vava. Okay, so that's the ox. Okay, that's any damage that the ox causes other than with its mouth. A pit that's left open. A Mava, which we're going to explain, is when the ox damages using its mouth. And Va'er is fire. Lo Hari HaShor Kahari HaMava. Okay, the ox is not, the category of shore of ox is not the same as Mava, as when the ox damages with its mouth. Floria Mava Karya Shor. And Mava, when the ox damages with its mouth, is not like the category of shore, of ox, when it does its regular damage. Vilo Zevaze, and these two, meaning the ox, as it does its regular damage, is not similar to, the ox when it does its regular damage, and the ox when it does damage using its mouth, are not Sheish Behen Ruach Chaim. These two categories, which are alive, right? The ox in both categories is a live being. Okay? Karya Eish Shein Bo Ruach Chaim are not similar to the category of fire, right? Eish, which is also which is not alive. Shein Bo Ruach Chaim. Okay, so to sum up, the ox damaging with its mouth and the ox damaging with its feet are not similar to the category of Eish for one very simple reason. The first two, the ox damaging with its mouth and the ox damaging with its feet, are alive, and the fire is not alive. Okay, going on with the Mishnah. V'lo zev zesh darkin leilechol hazik. Now, the category of shore, ma'ava, and aish, right? The ox damaging in its normal way, or the ox damaging with its mouth, or the fire, are not similar to the last category, okay, which we're going to explain in a second. These three categories go out and travel. They're moving, right? They are objects that move. That's not similar. Kahari habor she'ein darko leilechol hazik. That's not similar to the pit, which is stationary. It's not. It doesn't move, right? So that category, the category of the pit, is different. Hatzara Shava Shebehed. Now, the Mishnah until this point had been showing why it's necessary to have four different categories. Now the Mishnah is going to ask, how is it possible to have one category, right? We want to show why all these fit into one category and they're not four different categories, okay? So what do they all have in common? Hatzara Shava Shebehen. What they have in common. Hatzara Shava means what they have in common. Shedarka Lahazik Ushmirason Alecha. Right, so what do they all four of these categories have in common? That they all damage, they can all cause damage. You, as the owner of these objects, right, whether it's you who started the fire, whether it's you, the owner of the ox, or you, the owner of the pit, all four of these objects, you have the obligation to watch them. Ukeshehezik, and if one of these does do damage, Chav hamazik l'shalem tashlumei nezek b'meitev haaretz. The damager is obligated to pay from the best of his fields. In other words, he can't go say, okay, I'm going to reimburse you for the damage that my ox did with the piece of my field that's not the best. He's got to pay back from the best of his field exactly what either his ox or the fire, or in a case of his pit that damage, he has to pay back from the best of his fields. That concludes the Mishnah. Now we're going to move on to the Gemara. The Gemara is going to talk about Avos and Toldos. Okay, Avos and Toldos are main categories and subcategories. Okay, and the Mishnah has talked about Avos. The Gemara is going to now assume that whenever there are Avos, there must be what are called Toldos. There must be subcategories. Why is that assumption true? Fix the camera here a little. Why is that assumption true? Why is it that if there are Avos, there must be Toldos? For a very simple reason. We categorize in order to understand better. So if we're going to make a category, if we're going to list categories, then by definition, there has to be subcategories. It doesn't make sense to take a list of 10 different things and say, okay, we want to organize them. Let's make them all into categories. right? And now we had a list of 10 things, and now we have a list of 10 categories. We haven't done anything other than calling our items categories. That doesn't help. What helps is if you can take 10 items, split them into 3 or 4 categories, or even 5 categories, and use subcategories and show then how they are different. Hope that's clear. So that's how our Gemara is going to open up. The Gemara is going to say, Midiktani avos. From the fact that the Mishnah lists avos, meaning from the fact that we do have major categories, Mechlal Dika Todos. That tells us that there are subcategories. Todos are subcategories. Okay, so from the fact that Midiktani, from the fact that we have, okay, Midiktani, from the fact that we have avos, Mechlal Dika Todos. Now we know that there are also todos. Todoseim Chayotze Behen, Olav Chayotze Behen. Now the Gemara asks the question: are these todos, okay, these subcategories, are they similar or dissimilar to our avos? There's a lot of ways of judging whether something is similar or dissimilar, especially when it comes to the area of categories. What the Mishna is going to, the Gemara, as it continues to analyze and investigate, is going to determine whether or not the categories are similar or not similar. Now, the area that we're concentrating on, that we want to know if our subcategories and our categories are similar or dissimilar, is the area of nezikin. That's important to recognize. Remember, our Mishnah is dealing with nezikin, damages. When something of our own damages something else, that's what we want to know. Are they similar or dissimilar? Okay, that's our question. In order to answer our question, it's not simple enough just to simply look into nezikin and see if they're similar or not. Our Gemara is going to investigate other areas of halacha. We're going to look at Shabbos. We're going to look at Tuma. We're going to look at these areas and then determine if we can say, okay, look at the rest of the Torah. In the rest of the Torah, other areas that also have categories and subcategories are similar or not similar. And therefore, we can learn from those categories, we can learn about nezikin. The big disappointment in our Gemara is we're going to look at two different areas. And in the day, the two areas, one area, Shabbos, is going to be similar. The todos are going to be similar to the avos. The subcategories are going to be similar to the main categories. But when it comes to Tuma, we're going to see that the todos are dissimilar. So this investigation is not going to help us so much per se when it comes to nezikin, but we're going to look into it anyway. Okay, and that's what we're going to look at now. So the Gemara asks a question: Todosein chayotze behen o lav chayotze behen? Are the subcategories similar or dissimilar? Chayotze behen means similar. Lav chayotze behen means dissimilar. So are they similar or are they dissimilar to the avos? Okay, subcategories similar or dissimilar to the avos. So Gabe Shabbos Tanan. So the first area we're going to look at is Shabbos. We're going to see if in the category of Shabbos, are they similar or dissimilar? Okay, that's our first question. So we look at Shabbos, that first area we're looking into. And what does the Gemara say? Avos malachos arba'im chaser achas. There are how many categories in Hilchos Shabbos? We know there are 40 minus 1, 39. 39 categories of malacha, of prohibited work on Shabbos. Avos mechlal deika todos. Now, once we learned that there are 39 avos in Hilchos Shabbos, we now know, obviously, that there must also be todos. And the Gemara says, todosein chayotze behen. When it comes to Shabbos, the todos are similar to the avos. Right? What does that mean that they're similar? How are we going to know? So we're going to look at one area to see if they are similar or dissimilar. And that area we're going to look at is punishments when you violate a prohibition. We're going to look at times that you violate Hilchos Shabbos on purpose, and as I know what I'm doing is wrong, and when I don't know when it's wrong and I forget. We're going to look at those two areas in our next video. Okay, I hope this was helpful for you.